guy and you just came off a draw, I think rematching will be the most competitive thing to do as an athlete. With the Jake Paul situation, is like, it's a money grab fight.
Davis was in a bit of a hole, and he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money. No.
The showdown between Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis is drawing closer, with both fighters deep in training. Jake focuses on power and size, while Tank refines his speed and precision. Both camps are locked in, and fans are watching closely as two very different styles prepare to collide in one of boxing's most talked about matchups.
Yeah. This Santa Cruz right here, the desert. You can't let it burn, baby. Let it burn. Mind over matter, son. Mind over matter.
This is the blues on.
Ain't nobody doing no shit like this. Come in the desert. I'm trying to stay away from the desert.
Shakur Stevenson weighed in on the rise of unconventional boxing events. He criticized fights like Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis for adding no true sporting value, but defended the idea of legends like Mayweather and Tyson returning for nostalgia and fan excitement. According to Stevenson, such legends have earned the right to entertain without harming boxing's credibility, unlike celebrity exhibition bouts.
The sport of boxing.
I mean, I feel like in Floyd and Tyson's situation is different than Jake Paul and Buddy. I feel like with Floyd and Tyson, it's like, okay, y'all deserve it. Y'all legends, y'all paid homage, y'all did the most for the sport of boxing already. So you deserve a big payday and be cool. I'm cool with it. I like it. But with Jake and Buddy, I feel like Buddy is a participate in the sport of boxing right now, and he just came off a draw his last fight. So if you're a real champion and top level guy that you say you are, which I think you are too, I think you're the truth. But if you're that guy and you just came off a draw, I think rematching will be the most competitive thing to do as an athlete. With the Jake Paul situation, it's like, it's a money grab fight. So to me, it's like some WWE shit.
Do you think it choke out? Like, I mean, okay, so he gets this fight with Jake. His value goes up. No, it doesn't. You don't? It don't? Not in the sport of boxing. You don't think
it may.
The demand more because he's, you know, because when we looked at the was it Floyd and just hypothetical, you know, we speak hypotheticals at time, right? You go in there and that big ass nigga knock him the fuck out. I'm just saying hypothetical. Go in there and knock Tank the fuck out.
That big ass nigga being Jake Paul?
Yes.
Okay,
knock him the fuck out. Because he's bigger than him. Yeah. For one. By chance, it is a fight.
I think the thing is with Buddy and Jake fight, I feel like it's two sides of me with it. Because from a competitive aspect and me being the mentality that I got, I feel as though I probably would have done the rematch. But then from a business aspect, if I would have done the rematch and I did not win the fight, the Jake Paul fight will be a lot less money and a lot less lucrative. So,
you think so?
From a business aspect, I understand that anybody that with a business mind probably would have took that fight for as much money as it was. So I'm a realist. Like, I ain't gonna just bash, bro.
UFC President Dana White gave a brutally honest take on the Paul Davis fight. He said few fans are genuinely hyped, but admitted the matchup could benefit Davis, whose career momentum had dipped. White noted Jake Paul's offer came at the right time for Tank financially. Surprisingly, he even suggested Jake could win not from skill, but from sheer size and strength. Davis, though elite, is much smaller and would face a serious physical challenge.
To beat Gervonta Davis. This is not a fight that I'm excited for, at all. I would rather have Gervonta Davis fighting in a real boxing match against the likes of Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, Emmanuel Navarrete, anybody that is in the 135-pound division and around, that's where I want to see Gervonta Davis fight. However, we live in a world where everybody is trying to do things as big as possible. And the biggest fights possible right now, unfortunately for the sport of boxing, is an exhibition fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. So, I do like it for this reason, though. I like it because it is allowing Gervonta Davis to have a fight that is going to be big and that the mainstream media is going to have to cover, the mainstream media outside the world of boxing. Gervonta Davis has been, without a doubt, blocked, having venues blocked, having fighters, having other promoters paying fighters away to go different directions from Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta Davis was in a bit of a hole. And he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money, no worries. But you gotta love Dana White having the audacity to pick Jake Paul in this fight.
Former world champion Paulie Malignaggi shared his thoughts on the idea of Terence Crawford facing Jake Paul. While praising Crawford's elite skill set, Malignaggi warned that size often overrides technique. He emphasized that even great fighters have struggled when moving up too far in weight, and that Jake's natural power and frame could pose real danger to Crawford. For him, the issue isn't skill, it's physical limits.
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you, you can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks
the answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion in multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champ, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot?
Organizers hit a major setback when the original venue refused to host Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, calling it more circus than sport. Forced to relocate, promoters scrambled to find a new site willing to embrace the spectacle. Though the event will proceed, the venue controversy reignited debate over boxing's direction, with critics saying such fights prioritize entertainment and money over genuine competition.
Pounds. Jake Paul is over 50 pounds heavier than Gervonta Tank Davis, and he's nearly a foot taller than Gervonta Tank Davis. So no sanction body wants to, and no commission wants to, should I say, I keep saying sanction body. No commission wants to sanction it. They don't want to be a part of it. As I told you guys. So they announced that the fight was going to take place November 14th in Atlanta at the State Farm Arena where the Atlanta Hawks play. And the Georgia Athletic Commission, he came out and he made a serious statement. And he let the world know that they falsely advertised this fight, okay? because no commission won't sanction it to be a real boxing match, let alone they're not even interested in allowing it to be an exhibition. Okay? They don't even want it to be, they don't even want to be responsible for an exhibition of this magnitude, right? So he comes out and he says, the commissioner, head of the Georgia Commission, he comes out and he says, quote, I believe it's in the public's interest to know because they've been promoting something they should not have been promoting. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. It's a money grabber, and I'm not okay with that. So they telling him it's just for.
Retired champion Carl Froch didn't hold back, saying Jake Paul's entire boxing career is driven by money, not legacy. Froch accused Paul of hand-picking opponents for attention and profit, not for challenging himself. While he admitted the marketing works, he insisted Paul will never earn real respect from boxing purists that way.
Mentioned me before, and there'll be people out there saying, oh, Carl Froch's talking about himself, he's after a payday. Listen, I'm not after a payday. I'm doing all right. There's no problems with my finances. But I'll take the fucking payday, of course I will. And I'll end Jake Paul with one punch. I'd go in there one-armed and beat this guy. He can't box. He's absolutely fucking useless, which we saw last night with Mike Tyson. Talking about Canelo Alvarez. I've not mentioned Canelo Alvarez because it's just laughable. Jake Paul, Canelo Alvarez, can you imagine? I mean, Jake Paul fancies that and he jumps in the ring with him. I will pay homage to him because fair play, if he jumps in there with Canelo Alvarez, he'll get absolutely fucking destroyed and it will be fast and it will be messy and it will be bad for his health as well.
MMA star Nate Diaz dismissed the matchup entirely, refusing to make a prediction. He called the fight a pay-per-view spectacle rather than a legitimate contest, blaming such events for damaging boxing's integrity. According to Diaz, these fights are purely for profit, not for competition, and that's why he refuses to take them seriously.
Versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna do.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think.
He's just too small.
It just. I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually. I'm not hating on the fight, but I think. My thoughts on it is let's watch and see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said that boxing's turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. Do you agree? Last thing, White House card, like he said, you want Conor McGregor?
Yeah, but the whole thing's on WWE. So
right.
It's like, at least that's happening and getting something to talk about, something to watch. And
when asked about Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, one fighter bluntly admitted Davis is simply too small. He said he wouldn't want to beat someone that undersized, nor lose to one, calling the fight entertaining but unbalanced. When told Ryan Garcia compared boxing's current trend to WWE, he agreed, saying at least it gives fans something exciting to watch.
Davis is actually happening. What the f is going on? I guess Tank is going broke because that's the only justifiable reason you ruin your legacy against a guy like Jake Paul. And yes, I do think Jake Paul is going to win. Tank Davis is a much better boxer and has crazy power, but he's 5'5", 130. That power is not going to carry over against someone who is 6'1", 210. And it's not like Jake is bad. Yes, his fights are boring. He says he's going to step in the ring and sleep his opponents, but the only people who end up sleeping are the audience. Mike Tyson fight. But at the end of the day, he's a big guy with power who's training boxing full time, and he has beaten some legitimate competition. Woodley, Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, Mike Perry had a competitive fight with Tommy Fury, but it's crazy how particular Jake has to be when selecting his opponents. They have to have enough clout to be interesting, enough skill to be taken seriously as a threat, but at the same time have clear weaknesses and disadvantages that Jake and his team can exploit to win. Now that he's fighting an elite boxer, he has to fight someone 7 weight classes down. I mean, Tank could win if he makes Jake do a very aggressive weight cut, but I just don't see that happening. I got Jake by 3rd round TKO. He should put me on the co-main event and allow me to fight Francis Ngannou. That would be an easy.
The biggest debate surrounding Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis centers on their massive size difference. Jake stands taller, heavier, and has a longer reach, while Davis, only 5 feet 5 inches and a natural 130-pounder, dominates lighter divisions through explosiveness and precision. Experts worry that against a much bigger man, Davis may struggle to close distance without taking heavy punishment. It's a classic question, can skill overcome size?
So breaking news, Jake Paul will be taking on Tank Davis in an exhibition on November 15th in Atlanta, Georgia, live on Netflix. And this is crazy for multiple reasons. One, they have a huge size difference. Tank Davis, he's a lightweight, normally fights at 135 pounds. And Jake Paul, he's a cruiserweight, usually fights at 200 pounds. So there's a good 60 to 65 pound difference here. It could also mean that Tank Davis is no longer interested in competing for titles anymore and is cashing out of boxing. You know, there's been a lot of talks that Tank is nearing retirement this year. He was supposed to rematch Lamar Roach after their first fight went to a draw, but instead of chasing the Roach rematch, instead he takes the Jake Paul fight for money. So maybe this is Tank's last, or one of his last fights. And same for Jake Paul. He just got ranked number 14 at cruiserweight after beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So he's supposed to be fighting other ranked contenders or top guys at cruiserweight, but instead he's taking a money fight. But I do expect these two to go after each other. Even though it is an exhibition, I don't think it'll just be some boring sparring match. I do think they'll try a decent amount. But Tank, obviously, he's a lot more skilled. Jake, he has a lot more size. But you guys let me know.
Many fans and analysts have voiced frustration over how spectacle fights now dominate boxing headlines. The Jake Paul vs. Davis event is seen as another example of promoters chasing views instead of legacy. Critics argue this trend undermines boxing's roots, shifting focus from true competition to manufactured entertainment.
Look at them as sporting events. They look at them as spectacle. I mean, Logan's in the fucking WWE, for God's sake. That's the way they look at it. And that's the way Jake looks at these kind of events. He does, because he's fighting Gervonta Davis. Into any sports, hardcore, competition, morale, effort, you know, legacy, hierarchy-minded sports person, none of it makes any sense. Because we go, well, no, Gervonta is not in Jake's weight class. What does that prove? We do sport to prove who's better at sport, not with inherent advantages or disadvantages or XYZ. Logan, and I guess Jake for that matter, look at these like, we want to get the most eyes possible regardless of what people say. And I think that Logan and Jake both believe this, because of the disadvantages we came into the sport with, if we are to do better than people expected, or if we're able to win or knock someone out, then we're better. Which is not true, because there's massive disadvantages on the other end. I would say that outweigh the disadvantages on their end, at least Jake said. The way they market these things and act like if I beat Gervonta, I'm better, or if Logan was like, I beat Floyd and I'm the best boxer in the world, when Floyd wasn't the best boxer when Logan fought him, and also it was a 60-pound weight difference. Like, the way they categorize and narrative shape around it is the thing people get up.
That wraps up today's coverage. Stay tuned for more updates and analysis as the buzz around Jake Paul vs. Gervonta Davis continues to grow.